You've heard the horror stories. The average American home now costs nearly $400,000. Interest rates sit around 6.8%, making a basic 30-year mortgage feel like signing away your life. In Los Angeles, a two-bedroom costs more than the lifetime earnings of a public school teacher. In Austin, you need $500,000 just to get a fixer-upper with black mold in the walls. And in New York, forget it. You'll spend $3,200 a month for a one-bedroom apartment with a window that faces a brick wall. The so-called American dream is dead for millions killed by Wall Street landlords, corporate investors, and a system where billion-dollar hedge funds buy entire neighborhoods while families are left begging for a rental. But here's the twist no one talks about. There's a parallel universe inside America, hidden in plain sight. While the headlines scream housing crisis scattered across the country are towns so desperate for people, they're practically giving away homes. Not for $200,000. Not for one single dollar. Yes, the same crumpled bill you use at a vending machine can literally buy you a house in America today. These aren't myths. They aren't scams. They're real government programs and city initiatives designed to fight population decline and stop entire neighborhoods from collapsing into ghost towns. The reason is simple: thousands of U.S. towns are shrinking. Once thriving industrial cities that fueled the steel boom, coal rush, and automotive age are now emptying out. Census data shows more than 50 major U.S. cities have lost over 25% of their populations in the past. That means tens of thousands of abandoned homes, boarded-up blocks, and collapsing tax bases. For these towns, a house with an owner, any owner, is better than a rotting shell. So they'll sell it to you for $1 if you promise to fix it, live in it, and bring life back to their streets. Here's the kicker: the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development (HUD) even has a Dollar Homes program, where foreclosed properties sit unsold for 6 months, and then get offloaded to local governments for, you guessed it, $1. Those governments in turn flip them to everyday people. Sure, you'll spend $20,000 to $60,000 in renovations. Sure, you'll deal with crime, rough neighborhoods, and the smell of broken drywall. But when it's done, you're the outright owner of a 3-bedroom home with a yard for less than the cost of a yearly gym membership. So while most Americans are locked in rent traps, working 60 hours a week to pay landlords who never fix the heat, you could be the person who takes a gamble on a forgotten zip code and walks away owning real estate for pennies. These towns aren't on glossy real estate blogs. They're not popping up on HGTV. They're buried under bad reputations, cold winters, and headlines about crime. But they're also the last secret left in the housing market, a loophole so wild it almost feels illegal. Buckle up. Because we're counting down 10 secret U.S. towns so cheap they're selling homes for $1. Some are bold comeback stories, others are fixer-upper nightmares, but all of them prove the same shocking truth in America today. The housing dream isn't gone, it's just hiding in places you never thought to look. Gary, Indiana. Gary is the punchline of 100 late-night jokes. But let me tell you something the comedians don't. This city is ground zero for the $1 housing revolution. Yes, you can literally buy a house for a single dollar bill, less than a gas station coffee. Why? Because Gary has been bleeding population since the steel industry collapsed in the 1970s, shrinking from nearly 180,000 residents to under 70,000 today. Whole neighborhoods are hollowed out, and the city decided it's better to give away homes than let them rot. The rules are simple. You have to fix it, live in it, and keep up with taxes. Crime is high, no sugarcoating that. But the math is undeniable. The median home price here is around $52,000, which is already dirt cheap compared to the national average of nearly $400,000. That's basically the city begging you to take the keys. You'll spend $20, $50K on repairs, but at the end you own a property outright. Investors are quietly circling, knowing once Gary stabilizes, these homes could triple in value. If you've got grit, $1 here buys you not just a house but a chance to flip history itself. Buffalo, New York East Side. Buffalo gets headlines for its snow and chicken wings, but here's the buried lid. The city once ran a program selling homes for $1, especially on the struggling East Side. Buffalo has over 276,000 residents, a revitalized downtown, and a growing job market. But decades of population loss left behind thousands of vacant properties. To stop blight, The Urban Homestead program literally offered homes for $1 to anyone willing to renovate and occupy them. The catch: you had to invest at least $5,000 in improvements within 18 months. That's less than what some people spend on a vacation. Today, Buffalo's median home price hovers just under $100K, which is still absurdly low for a city this size, with pro sports, major hospitals, and Niagara Falls down the road. Yes, the winters are brutal. Snowfall averages over 90 inches a year and property taxes sting, but the upside is real. People have taken $1 homes, invested sweat equity, and built generational wealth. Forget HGTV. This is real-life monopoly. You don't just buy a roof here, you buy into one of America's most underrated comeback stories, for less than the price of a vending machine snack. Camden, New Jersey. Say Camden in Philly and people will raise eyebrows, but here's the reality. This is one of the most strategically located cities in America, offering homes for Camden sits directly across the river from Philadelphia, with a skyline view people pay millions for in New York. The city launched $1 home programs to revive abandoned housing stock and stabilize neighborhoods. Median home prices in Camden today hover around $75,000, still pocket change compared to Philly's $270,000 average. Crime is sky high. Schools are underfunded, but the location is unbeatable. You can literally buy a dollar house, sink $50K into renovations, and suddenly you've got equity in a metro market where rents are exploding. Camden has been seeing a slow but steady comeback thanks to Rutgers University, the waterfront development, and major employers like Campbell's. The city knows it can't bulldoze its way out of blight, so it's betting on people with vision. Imagine standing on your $1 porch, sipping coffee while Philly skyscrapers glitter across the river, knowing you paid less for your home than someone spends on an Uber ride. Risky, absolutely, but opportunity never looked this cheap or this close to prime real estate. 7. Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore might be famous for crab cakes and The Wire, but it's also one of the rare major U.S. cities where homes have gone for, you guessed it, in some of the city's toughest neighborhoods. Local programs unloaded vacant row houses for the price of pocket change. Why? Because Baltimore had over 16,000 vacant properties choking its tax rolls, and a house with an owner, even a broke one, is better than a boarded-up shell. The catch is steep. You must fix it up, live in it for at least a few years, and comply with inspections. But let's talk upside. Baltimore's median home price is around $200, already lower than DC or Philly. But if you score a $1 house and put in $40K, you're instantly sitting on equity. Jobs are here. Johns Hopkins, the Port of Baltimore, government contracting. Transit connects you to DC in under an hour. Yes, crime is rough, and the politics are messy, but if you've got the stomach for it, $1 buys you a slice of a real city with million-dollar neighbors just a few zip codes away. Baltimore isn't just cheap, it's proof the American housing market can still shock you. Price, Utah. Now let's flip the script. Small-town Utah. Price, population just 8,000, has flirted with the $1 housing deal to lure in families and remote workers. Why? The town is fighting population decline after the coal industry collapsed. To stop becoming a ghost town, local officials offered abandoned properties for as little as $1, provided buyers pledged to renovate and stay. Unlike Rust Belt cities drowning in blight, Price is a mountain town surrounded by jaw-dropping landscapes, arches, red rock canyons, and desert vistas that people in California pay millions to see. Median home price, around $190,000, which is already cheap for Utah, but the $1 homes are the true bait. You'll need to dump $60K into repairs, but then you own a place outright in a region where Salt Lake prices are skyrocketing past $500K. The cost of living here is 25% below the national average. Schools are decent, crime is low, and you can literally walk out your back door into scenery that looks like a national park brochure. The downside: isolation, limited jobs, and winters that can freeze your soul. The upside: for $1, you don't just buy a house, you buy freedom in the desert. 5. Bessemer, Alabama. Bessemer is one of those places that makes you scratch your head and say, how is this legal? Located just outside Birmingham, this former steel town has been on life support since the mills closed, and city officials turned to the $1 house strategy to bring it back from the dead. Median home price today hovers around $69,000, less than half the national average, but the kicker is that you can literally get in the door for a single George Washington bill. The requirements: fix it, occupy it, and don't let it crumble again. Sounds simple, but the homes need serious work. Think new roofs, gutted interiors, HVAC systems that belong in a museum. But here's why it's a gamble worth taking. Birmingham's metro is growing, tech startups are trickling in, and rents are rising. A $1 house in Bessemer today, after $40 $60K of sweat equity, could easily cash flow at $1,020 a month in rent. Cost of living is 30% below average, and the food scene, soul food, BBQ meat in threes, is legendary. Downsides: crime, poverty, and limited schools. Upside: for $1 you're buying into a metro area where gentrification is slowly creeping outward. That's not just a house, that's a lottery ticket with bricks. But for Toledo, Ohio. Toledo is the quiet giant of cheap American housing. Population: median home price, $112,000, which is cheap enough already, but under the city's infamous Dollar House program, some properties have literally been handed over for $1. Stop blight. Toledo is smack in the Great Lakes region, with access to water, shipping, and a surprisingly resilient job market anchored by healthcare and auto suppliers. The homes: brick colonials, two-story bungalows, and old Victorians abandoned after the city's population dropped from 30. The deal is brutal honesty. Many of these homes are wrecks, requiring tens of thousands in repairs, but the math works. Buy for $1, put in $50K, and you own a house worth $110. Toledo isn't glamorous, this is Rust Belt reality, potholes and all, but the opportunities are very real. A guy on BiggerPockets bragged, picked up a $1 property, flipped it, and cleared downsides: harsh winters, slow growth, and high property taxes. But let's be honest, where else in America can a literal single dollar be the seed for multi-generational wealth? Toledo might just be the cheapest entry point into real estate anywhere. Muskegon, Michigan. Muskegon is proof that lakefront property doesn't always come with a yacht club price tag. This small Michigan city sits on Lake Michigan's eastern shore, with beaches that look like the Hamptons if you squint hard enough. Its economy collapsed after the decline of industry, leaving behind blocks of abandoned homes. That's when the $1 program kicked in. The rules are strict. You have to renovate within a year, live in it, and meet inspection codes. But the payoff: you're suddenly the owner of a property near water that tourists pay thousands to Airbnb every summer. Muskegon's median home price today sits at about $144,000, still a bargain compared to Chicago or Milwaukee across the lake. The cost of living is 22% below average, and the city has been slowly bouncing back thanks to tourism, small businesses, and new port developments. Downsides: jobs are scarce, winters are cruel, and property taxes hit harder than expected. But the upside is enormous. $1 gets you into a market where lakefront lots in neighboring towns sell for $500,000. Imagine grilling on your porch, lake breeze in your face, knowing your mortgage is cheaper than a Netflix subscription. Muskegon isn't just cheap, it's criminally undervalued. 2. St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis is America's paradox city, once the fourth largest in the country, now a shadow of its former glory, littered with vacant homes, tens of thousands of them. To fight the blight, the city launched $1 home auctions through the Land Reutilization Authority. Think about that. Grand, brick, turn-of-the-century row houses for less than the price of a soda. The catch is massive. You must rehab it, occupy it, and pass inspections. But if you've got the vision and the hammer, this is one of the best deals in the nation. The median home price in St. Louis today sits around $170,000, still way below the US average, but the $1 program gets you in at ground level. Jobs exist: healthcare, universities, logistics, and the city is geographically central, with Chicago, Kansas City, and Memphis all within striking distance. Downsides: crime is sky high in some neighborhoods, and population decline continues. But upside: these aren't tiny shacks, they're massive, historic brick homes that would cost $500,000 in Chicago. Reddit is full of stories of people turning $1 houses into $150K properties after rehab. St. Louis is the ultimate risk-reward market. $1, one chance, one city fighting for a comeback. $1 Homes, USA HUD Ed program. And here's the grand finale: the $1 deals that don't belong to any single city but to an actual national program. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD-ED, runs the Dollar Homes Initiative, where foreclosed properties that sit unsold for 6 months are offered to local governments for, you guessed it, $1. These homes often end up in cities like Detroit, Cleveland, Buffalo, and St. Louis, but the truth is this program is everywhere, hiding in plain sight. Towns then resell them to residents for $1 with strict rules: you must live there, renovate, and comply with codes. The properties are usually rough, boarded up foreclosures in struggling neighborhoods, but they're still homes, often with 3 bedrooms, basements, and yards. Think about it. In a country where the average mortgage is $2,200 a month, HUD is essentially saying, here, take this house for $1, just promise not to let it rot. According to HUD data, hundreds of homes have been sold this way over the years, creating opportunities for families who'd never dream of homeownership otherwise. Downsides: sweat equity, tough neighborhoods, lots of rules. Upside: for $1, you don't just buy a house, you buy the American dream at clearance rack prices.